Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Hearthstone deck spotlight. My name is Tommy Wave, and today we'll be taking a look at Jeleniowaty's Mech Murloc Paladin. We've definitely played a Mech Murloc deck before in the last couple of weeks, but I'm not sure if it was Paladin, and regardless, I don't think it looked this sweet. We've definitely played our fair share of mech decks, we've played our fair share of Murloc decks, and we've played our fair share of aggressive Paladin lists. And what we've got here is a pretty interesting one. So I guess the idea of having both Mech and Murloc in the same deck is that the Murlocs have a very heavy early game. They're very aggressive in the early game. They can really get under a lot of decks. Whereas the Mech side of things is a bit more resilient and a bit more late game focused with cards like War Gear, and using that to give a big buff to a small minion. So we'll go through the separate parts of the deck. So the Mech side of things, we've got Glowtron and Mecharoo, the premium 1-drops for the Mech strategy. Then we've got the War Gear in there at the top. And kind of tie the two themes together, we do have the Nightmare Amalgam. So just a really light splash of the Mech theme in here, but we do get the really good 1-drops, as we said, and War Gear is just a fantastic, blessing of kings with legs, if you would. The Murloc side of things, we've got Murloc Tidecaller at the 1-drop. We don't have any of the one that gives your team +1/+1, the Grimscale Oracle. Just the Tidecaller in here, and I kind of agree with that. The Grimscale Oracle suffers from being very weak against one damage hero powers, of which there are plenty in the format right now. It's also quite weak in the mirror, the aggressive creature mirror. So I totally understand getting rid of that, and instead we've got a Righteous Protector in here, and I really love this. One of the best 1-drops going around at the moment, and it's really going to help us protect these brittle Murloc Tidecallers. Onto the 2-drops, we've got Hydrologist, which gives us a little bit of extra value. We can hope to get things like the Auto Defense Matrix, we can hope to get down, something like that. Just make our opponent a little bit uneasy about doing anything if we have a secret up, because it's quite hard to predict which Paladin secret it is. We've also got Rock Pool Hunter. This is our best 2-drop to follow up with it from a Tidecaller. Obviously a little bit weaker now that we have less 1-drop Murlocs, but still just our best curve, buffing the Tidecaller to a 3/3. Onto the 3-drops, this is where things get nice and chunky, as you can see. We've got the Murloc War Leader and Coldlight Seer, as well as the aforementioned Nightmare Amalgam. War Leader is one of our best ways to capitalize on our opponent not dealing with our early threats. If we curve Tidecaller into Hydrologist into War Leader, all of a sudden we're cracking in for an extra 4 damage that turn. The Coldlight Seer helps us get buff our minions past thresholds for board clears, so we avoid things like Defile, Hellfire, Twilight, Duskbreaker rather. These kind of things, so it really helps you against those kind of strategies that they're going to try to board clear you before they turn the corner. We've also got 2 unidentified mauls in here. We see this card, how good this card is in Odd Paladin, so makes total sense to put it in here. The one card that I'm kind of unsure of is these 2 copies of Divine Favor. I really like 1 Divine Favor in a lot of these decks, but just particularly because this deck has quite a lot of 3-drops and a little bit of a top end. I'm not too sure how I feel about that second Divine Favor. Not too sure how many cards it's going to draw us, or if drawing cards once we are out of resources is ever going to let us win. Just because if it's turn 7 and they wipe our board, they Psychic Scream us, and then we Divine Favor to draw 3 or 4 or 5 cards, and then we deploy a couple more things, well, are we still ever going to beat our opponent once it's on turn 8 and our opponent starts dropping Lich Kings and starts dropping, Spreading Plague, starts dropping these kinds of things? So always careful about the second Divine Favor, because it can really gum up your hand. Anyway, we'll move on from there. Onto the 4-drops, we've got Gentle Megazord. This is the big payoff card, one of the other big payoff cards for the Murlocs. And kind of the top end of the curve for that, looking to get plus attack, Wind Fury, maybe Divine Shield, or plus health, or Death Rattle, if we want to hedge against the against board clears. So really love that. Singleton Spellbreaker, I can always get behind. Don't leave home without him, especially if you're a budget deck player. And on 5, we've got the War Gear, like we talked about before. Fungalmancer is a nice neutral card that just benefits us for being on board, which is what we want to do with both the Mech and the Murloc strategies. And then at the top, Sunkeeper Tarim, just as all-round good card. People forget how good this card is because sometimes you play Odd Paladin without Stonehill Defender, or sometimes you do and you just never see Sunkeeper Tarim, but he's an absolute house. If we have board presence and our opponent doesn't, all of a sudden he's turning our Mecharoos, our Righteous Protectors, our Hydrologists, turning all of these into 3/3s, making them more resilient, making them do more damage, all around good stuff. So we're going to jump into some games, see how well we do with this Mech Murloc Paladin. Big shout out to Jeleniowatyy as well for the deck. You can go check them out on YouTube and on Twitch. Always recommend it. A fantastic content creator. And hopefully we do them justice. Let's go.
I must protect the wild.
Okay,
I will
up against a
fight
druid.
with honor.
Do we keep the Nightmare Amalgam? That's the question. How good is Unidentified Maul against a druid? Not as good as it is in other minion-based matchups, but I think keeping the Nightmare Amalgam is just a nice hedge because no matter what side of the deck we draw, we are guaranteed to be able to do something with it. Our opponent wants to hero power or wild growth. They do want to hero power.
Converting stored energy.
Don't think we'll coin hero power here. I think we'll go for a Nightmare Amalgam and potentially set up a coin Fungalmancer. Or coin War Gear. I would prefer to go for Fungalmancer, just in case they have a Naturalize. We can diversify our threats a bit more. Okay. Innovate Nourish. Cards for mana. So it's a bit of a tough one here. So Fungalmancer is better against Naturalize, whereas War Gear is better against Spreading Plague. But we can always War Gear next turn if we Fungalmancer now, whereas if we War Gear now and they Naturalize it, our Fungalmancer is really weak next turn, so... I'm already thumbing over a card, so... I would say we're about to get plagued. They did have the Naturalize, so... They have Naturalize then? Oh, they wouldn't have Naturalize otherwise they goofed a bit. Now the question is, do they have the other Naturalize?
Protocol 7.
Let's hope they don't. This is the biggest Joey bot I've seen.
Flower power.
They're gonna go for it. Wow, Fungalmancer saves the day. Nice! That's a really good showing for the deck, I think. We managed to be fast enough to go under a relatively controlling deck. Which is great. Okay. So we kind of see one of the awkward parts of the deck now, in that, you know, like we can send this 2-drop back, but then we might miss our curve. I think we're going to keep this, and if this is Odd Paladin, of course, the Unidentified Maul. should be quite good at helping us chop down some Silverhand recruits, maybe some raid leaders.
None will survive.
Ooh, we even got a good mode on that maul.
We fight.
Being able to Firefly into Snake Trap, then Stitch Tracker a Giant is a great feeling. That does sound really sick. Interesting.
Repent.
I think that's a good use of a coin by our opponent, particularly if they're going to be curving out over the next couple of turns.
Reporting for duty. Reporting for duty.
Unfortunately, this is a relatively low impact kind of hand. Okay. That's a good draw.
The battle! The battle for justice!
Good draw because it lets us have a bit more granularity, lets us deploy some more things, which all we really want to do is deploy as much as we can before we Divine Favor. But with this many cards, we might just want to fire off the Divine Favor next turn. Creeper.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah, I think we might want to fire it off this turn. We could get greedy though. Minimize the potential for a big level up, but Fungal Mancer's very good. Takes out both. Unfortunately, we're 1 mana off being able to go like Tidecaller or War Leader, Megazord.
Get down!
It's a big board. It's a big old board. Oh. Yeah, it doesn't feel so good.
Speak your peace.
Opponent going face as well. I know that it is the place. I think that's pretty correct choice from our opponent. We have to do so much to get back into this game. Maybe they'll think it's get down or something.
Out of my jungle!
Tidecaller Trio, yes.
The light dims, but we fight.
How are we not dead? This is a very conservative line, I think, from our opponent.
Well played.
The light dims, but we fight.
Reporting for duty. Mushroom plants!
Surely we're dead. Come on. Drop a Vine Cleaver. Drop a Stormwind Champion. Says second stone. Second sun.
Victory is yours.
Sure. You got me.
Jaina!
Alright, up against a mage.
I will
Mage not
fight with honor.
not terribly common lately. Haven't been seeing too many of them. So we really don't know what our opponent's going to be up to. Whether it's some kind of Murloc mage, some kind of tempo redux thing, trying out tempo mage without mana worm. More than likely though, I think it's just going Murlocs. Okay, I was going to say it's going to be big spell mage. But Murlocs. Maybe it's Mechloc as well. Oh my gosh. Our opponent is going ham.
For justice. Job done.
Now unfortunately we don't have a good follow-up to this, but we do have a lot of 3s in the deck that we can draw. No. Could be Mechloc. Could be Mechloc Mage. I hate the Twitch app. I swear it glitches my keyboard out. Yeah, I've noticed that. On my I have a Samsung Note, and it kind of does. It does a lot of weird stuff. Especially when it's trying to orient things horizontally, where it's like screen and then chat here, and then your keyboard like doesn't know where to go.
For justice.
Actual Murloc Raider. Oof. What do they got? +1/+1. All face. Do they is this exactly double fireball?
Mushroom power!
It's like face mage. All face. Fireball. Water.
Your magic shall not save you.
Mushroom power!
The future is ours.
Luna. That is the fireball. They in trade. Yeah, they are. Want to keep that Luna in play. Makes sense. Ooh, yuck. Alright, so we're probably pretty dead here. Opponent's gonna get... Unless they drew... I don't know.
Behold,
Come on, burn the other...
tools
Burn the
of
other
creation.
Damn it.
Behold,
Come on.
the tools of creation.
Draw bad red. It's okay.
Behold, the tools of creation.
Okay, that's pretty bad.
Behold, the tools of creation.
Feeling bad, feeling sad.
Reporting for duty. To battle!
Wow, we got out Murlocked. Out Murlocked indeed. There's Murloc Raiders raiding our ladder points. How dare they? All right, let's we'll take a look at the deck. I think we got a pretty good idea of you know, where this deck sits in terms of, you know, it's a fun deck. If you love tribal synergies, it's definitely an interesting one. But as far as those you know, those minion based mirrors, I think we're not as high impact as the others. You know, we got out Paladined by the odd Paladin. We got out Murlocked by the Murloc Mage. And I think those decks kind of compete on board a bit better than us. I'd love to try this in an odd Paladin shell. You know, cut the Hydrologists and the Rockpool Hunters, cut the Megazord and the Spellbreakers, and just play a bit more of like maybe Mech. I don't know. Losing the Gentle Megazords definitely sucks, but we could commit less to the Murloc plan and commit more to the Mech plan. You know, get some of those 3-drop mechs in there. Like the Bronze Gatekeeper, the Taunt one, possibly. But anyway, if you're watching this video on YouTube, all the links down in the description, including a link over to the Hearthstone article. Jump over there, give Jeleniowatyy a +1, leave a lovely thoughtful comment, as I know you will. And if you've got a comment that you want to leave, if you got some feedback on this episode or on the deck, drop it in the description, drop it in the comments. My name's Tommy Wave. Until next time, stay safe, stay wavy, and talk properly. Bye.